Hello and welcome to Frankly Speaking, the show where we dig deep into the insights of some of the leading policymakers and business people in the Middle East and indeed the world. I'm Frank Kane. Today I'm pleased to be joined from Riyadh by Bandar Al Khorayef, Minister of Industry and Mineral Resources of Saudi Arabia. Excellency, welcome to Frankly Speaking.
Thank you, Frank. Happy to be with you.
It's great to have you. I'd like to start with the fundamentals if I could. Please explain to me the core industrial strategy of the kingdom, and in particular, explain its role in an economy which is still, frankly speaking, dominated by oil.
Well, allow me to probably split the answer on this question into two parts. One is with regards to the strategy. Our Vision 2030 is all about diversifying our economy. And definitely, the industrial sector and the mining sectors are essential to create that diversification and to create an economy that is sustainable, that is agile and competitive. The sector is already developed. We have been in the industrial sector for more than 45 or 50 years. It's the time where we want to leapfrog and move from where we are today to the future. So our strategy is basically built on three pillars. One is resilience. Secondly is making Saudi Arabia a hub for industry integrated with the region. And thirdly is really looking at the future and how we can leverage the technologies of the future to boost the growth of our industrial sector. The second part of your question is with regards to a oil and gas dominated economy. This is true, and this is for us is a privilege that we intend to take a maximum utilization of. Definitely, it's going to help the industrial sector in developing its capabilities. On one hand, to ensure that the sector is built in a manner that will help our oil and gas and support the base of the oil and gas, including resilience and providing the local content with time in our capabilities of oil and gas. But at the same time, it is an important probably to look at how we can use this resource of oil and gas to downstream industry. And this is a very important part of our strategy, how to increase and maximize the utilization of our natural resources in oil and gas, but also now in mining, because our future of mining development is going to be more and more looking at how much we can add value within the country by building, going more in the value chain, creating more value that will definitely make our economy more diverse, more complex, and create more opportunities of investments and definitely job opportunities for our people.
I'm glad that you raised the mining sector because you recently staged one of the biggest events in Riyadh that the city has seen for some time, the first Future Minerals Forum. Tell me your key takeaway from that event, would you?
Well, really the takeaway, it was a great success. By all means, when we look at the numbers, when we look at the participant, when we look at the engagement also by the different stakeholders from governments to large international players in the mining industry, also international organizations, financial institutions, academia, and so on. So by all means, it's a great success. We were very privileged to have this event. This event is really a one pillar of our mining strategy. The mining strategy identified the need for the region to be looked at as one piece of opportunity. And the whole essence of the summit is really to bring players in the region, starting from Africa, Middle East, and Central Asia, all together in one place, creating a forum where Riyadh will be the center of this global forum, but catering for the region. This collaboration is intended to bring governments, major investors in the mining industry, also major institutions, financial institutions that are needed to unlock the value of the sector. So, plus discussing the different relevant topics of how we can integrate the region in terms of resources, different processing, utilizing our different locations in terms of also connecting the region together from a logistic point of view, addressing issues that are very relevant to mining, that are related to environment, social development, and also the governance. So these are the different topics that we intend to cover during the summit, which we did. It was great success. I mean, the number of countries that have been involved were about around 32 countries. The major players in the mining industry were present. We had over 7,500 participants between physical and online. And also the interest that we have seen from financial investors, financial institutions, international NGOs who are interested in ensuring that the mining development worldwide and globally is done in a way that is both beneficial for the economy and the society. So it's a great success by all means, and as a result of this success, we intend to have this as an annual event, hopefully bringing everyone together to look at the future of minerals, which is the topic we believe is the topic of the day, because today we have seen more and more demand growing for different minerals as a result of the advance in manufacturing, but also as a result of global net zero targets and definitely the local targets that we intend to do in Saudi Arabia. So the mineral resources are becoming an important piece of the puzzle of how the global community is planning to reach the net zero. And unless we cooperate together, all stakeholders, government, private sector, financial institutions, academia, service provider, it will be very hard to satisfy the need of the global industrial sector of minerals in the future. So it's a very important piece of our strategy, and I'm very glad that this event actually took place even in difficult times, but was a great success, and we intend to build on this success going forward.
Okay, mining and minerals have been big growth sectors worldwide, haven't they? We've seen commodity prices going through the roof. But tell me what natural advantages the kingdom has here. We all know about oil, but tell me what other areas it can exploit.
I mean, to simplify it, the mining sector is really very much untapped so far in Saudi Arabia. But what we know today in conservative numbers is our natural resources when it comes to minerals is about 1.3 trillion. Huge reserves in the Arabian Shields. We have a huge program to discover more and more, providing data and analyzing the resources in the country. But definitely we have great quantities of very important elements like gold, copper, zinc, and phosphate. I'm talking about quantities that are commercially viable and economically viable. So these quantities are already definite. We are more and more discovering as we continue to progress with our program of the surveys that we are doing in the Arab Shield. Also, there are areas where we intend to have global players come and look at the certain locations that we have identified to go for auction. So we are planning an auction that is coming out next month. Just very close to Riyadh here. It's a resource where we believe we have almost 26 million tons of copper and zinc. These amounts are very interesting for global players to come and be part of these auctions. We have another two coming, hopefully by the end of this year. So we are, simply yet to find out more and more about our resources. But we have a good base. The government is serious about this sector through different pillars. One is policies. We have last year started our new mining investment law, and from infrastructure, where we see a lot of investment going in roads and railway and different industrial cities to ensure that the sector is served when it comes to also infrastructure. We believe the sector is going to benefit also from the technology movement and the advancement in different technologies that will make mining a sector where it will be safer, but also easier to access different elements. And therefore, we are working on the different streams to ensure that investors have access to all the different components to be successful, hopefully, in the sector, inshallah.
Let me get some updates from you, if you would, on a couple of initiatives that the ministry launched in the past. First, the Made in Saudi program, just under a year ago, with the aim of, quote, promoting a culture of loyalty to the national product. How has this gone? What challenges have you encountered? Are Saudis more willing to buy locally now than spending on imports?
Well, Frank, this is really a very close to my heart program. So Made in Saudi is something that I'm proud of as a Saudi before being an official. And really, it is a great success. Since we have launched the program, it's a great success. The engagement that we have seen from the public is just overwhelming. Also from companies who are interested in joining to the program. The numbers are very encouraging. So generally speaking, when it comes to the program, it is by all means a national program that we are privileged in the industrial ecosystem, and the Saudi Authority of Export leading this program. We are really privileged and honored to lead this program. Now, the program has two angles. One is the local target, which is, of course, Saudi nationals and also expats living in Saudi, but also it has another angle when it comes to promoting the Saudi brand abroad. At the end of the day, we need to simplify. The program is simply a branding program. Brands are, by definition, are built with time. They are built taking in mind how we associate this brand with different attributes, values, strengths, and so on. So we believe we have a lot to talk about when it comes to our brand. Our country is rich with culture, with also great experience when it comes to certain products. We have also local brands that have been also global, companies like Sabic, Mara'i, Safona, and so on. The Saudi products are perceived globally to be good quality, with also commercially Saudi players and companies are normally very well in following up their customers, in ensuring that they have a good positioning in the different markets. So we are building on all of these assets. Now, on the local front, just this month we have also we had the Made in Saudi exhibition, which is great. What was a great success. I mean, it is really overwhelming to see how the community engaged, and I'm a great believer that the vision itself also have shown that that the pride of the citizens in Saudi has grown so much to be proud of their products, our services. Even we have seen this in the tourism sector, where we see much ever than before people trying to visit different destinations in Saudi Arabia and get more and more acquainted with their country. So we see the program moving in the right direction. Today we have almost 7,000 products listed in the program, 2,500 companies, and we have also still in the pipeline more than another 3,000 in the pipeline. We are trying to be quite critical to ensure that whoever joins the program is really an added value to the program, so that we can protect the brand. Our job now is really to protect this brand and ensure that it is always moving in the right direction when it comes to being closer to consumers locally and also having the right impact globally.
And the National Industrial Development and Logistics Programme, which was launched, I remember, it's a great fanfare around 3 years ago, with a view to making the kingdom an industrial and logistics powerhouse. Give me an update on progress there, please.
Well, the program was launched in 2019, and you see the program simply is trying to link 4 sectors that are naturally connected with each other, which is industry, mining, energy, and logistics. These sectors need to operate in synchronization to ensure that we maximize the impact of these sectors on the economy and also on the competitiveness of these different sectors. So far we have been progressing. As you can imagine, these sectors are all heavy when it comes to infrastructure. So there is a lot of infrastructure projects going on as we speak in industrial cities, in gas supply, in renewable projects, and in logistics solution in different elements of the logistic. Also, these sectors need to be updated when it comes to strategy direction. So we have our strategy on mining, strategy on industry, the energy strategy, logistics strategy, and export. So that is all being now executed. When it comes to the different initiatives, the program is quite in a good level. We are probably number 2 when it comes to the different programs. Initiatives such as Exim Bank was part of NIDLIB. Today, Exim Bank is already in operation, serving different clients. Today, the portfolio of the Exim Bank have exceeded $1 billion so far. Also, one of the initiatives is increasing the capital of SIDF and also expanding the role of SIDF too, which is the Saudi Industrial Development Fund, to cover the different projects. Made in Saudi was actually part of NIDLIB. So NIDLIB is moving in the right direction. The most important thing for us really is how the private sector is moving, because our industrial development, for example, strategy is really all about private sector participation. So for us, numbers are what really show us how much we are moving. And today, in the industrial sector, for example, we have been able to obtain about 81 billion riyals of investments in the year 2021, which is really a great number when we look at also different difficulties. So program is moving in the right direction, and the relation between the different sectors is really synchronized in a way that makes it much easier for investors to operate than it used to be in the past.
Okay, you make the very valid point there that progress is synchronized in those four main sectors. I guess that you want to see them moving ahead neck and neck, more or less equally. But let me ask you about free zones, because other countries in the region have used free zones as a boost to their national economies, haven't they? Tell me, how is Saudi Arabia doing in this respect, and how does the strategy differ in the kingdom from other Gulf countries?
Well, when it comes to economic development, I believe that there is no, every country is different. But definitely Saudi Arabia, with its size, with its population, local consumption, it has different characteristics when it comes to what are the different tools to move the economy going forward. So our focus has been to build a strong industrial base, which we did, and we can see it today really giving us the right return on the investment. If we look at cities like Jubail, Yamba, where they use, 50 years ago, they are deserts. Today, they are industrial cities exporting worldwide petrochemicals and so on. So it is very important for us in Saudi, it has been in the past and it will continue to be, is to expand our local capabilities. Now, free zones is definitely a tool that can bridge a gap in the ecosystem, and also definitely create competitiveness when it comes to logistics and to manufacturing and re-export. And therefore, we do believe that it is an extremely important tool to have, and that's why we are actually about to launch four economical zones in Saudi Arabia very, very soon, inshallah.
Interesting. It's all about technology these days, though, isn't it? Tell me about the role that high and digital technology is playing within your strategy.
Well, I can tell you, technology is on a national level is an area where we have high bets. As a country, if you look at our demographics, if you look at our young generation, the education, and so on, we are great believers in technology and the way it will help us move and accelerate much faster. And definitely this applies in the industrial sector and in mining. So our industrial strategy with the different verticals I talked about has two enablers. One is technology in advanced manufacturing, in AI, in 3D printing, and so on. We believe it is an area where we can bring capabilities much faster, but most importantly, we believe it's an area where we can actually add value and be innovative and export to the world innovation rather than just export products. So the other pillar of our strategy is also local content. So that all put together just shows how much we are believers, and this is also incorporated in all of our different strategies. It is also incorporated when it comes to different targeted segments and the type of technologies, the type of business models that are used in each project in manufacturing and in mining to ensure that it is part of the solution. But as governments also, it is our job to ensure that the legal framework is there to ensure it is encouraging people to adopt new technologies. It is important for the government also to support infrastructure, to ensure also infrastructure is ready for the private sector to be incentivized enough to invest. So definitely it's an area where we see great opportunities for our economy, specifically in the industrial sector.
How does your ministry collaborate and cooperate with the other big projects under the Vision 2030 transformation, like NEOM, for example? How do you organize that?
Well, generally speaking, the vision is all about synchronizing the different efforts of the government in different activities. But specifically to your question, we have three levels of cooperation. One is the strategy level. So our strategy in all of the sectors is also taking into considerations these mega projects when it comes to demand and also the visibility of the requirement of these projects going forward and so on. At the same time, these projects, when they look at their master planning and so on, they are also required to look at how these master plans and these projects will impact the economy when it comes to GDP, to balance of payment, or to job creation and so on. So that is on the strategy or strategic level. And then we have on the different initiatives levels where we see more collaboration on details. So if we look at NEOM or Qiddiya, or there is a very close relation when it comes to the targets that they have to achieve in local content, and then also for us how to ensure that they are able to reach those targets through different projects and different output of the sector. And then we have on the third level is really the working level on the different teams on the ground who tackle everyday difficulties or challenges, communicate with the private sector, ensure that capacities are there, unlock certain certain challenges in the system. So this is really how it works. So far, I think it's great as long as there is targets that we both agree on. It is always easy to find a way to achieve these targets.
You mentioned localization, which is another big guiding principle of the vision, isn't it, in both employment and supply chains. Tell me how progress has gone there. Have you met the targets?
Yes, definitely. Yes, we are. We have very ambitious targets, by the way. Now, I would like to probably differentiate between the localization of human capital and the localization of products and services. When it comes to products and services, as I just mentioned with regards to the mega project, it is across the board. I mean, the strategies today, every vertical strategy in the country needs to have targets for localization. These targets of localization are coming from bottom up, but also are challenged from top down. So, and these are very much coordinated with the different entities and the balancing the supply and demand now and going forward. In addition, we have created, a standalone authority, which is the Local Content Authority, and that authority is really looking at the regulatory framework to ensure the implementation of these different activities and different targets. So the authority has drive these targets through policies, through initiatives, through different also tools such as offtake agreements and so on. So the legal framework is there, and really I'm honored to be chairing this entity, and it's a very unique entity when it comes to a global practice. So we are actually creating something almost from scratch when it comes to the mindset of an economy, of a country, to look at using local content as an enabler, but at the same time to ensure that it is not an obstacle in the way of development, economic development and growth. When it comes to the human capital, in the human capital there's great initiatives. I would probably summarize them again in three levels. On the national level, we have a huge program, one of the largest programs in the Vision 2030, which is headed by His Royal Highness Prince Mohammed bin Salman, Crown Prince. It was launched at the end of last year. The program is really intended to look at the overall ecosystem of education, training, skilling, reskilling, all of these in one place to ensure that the Saudi citizen is sufficiently educated and trained to meet the requirements of the labor market here, but also to be a participant in a global also competition. The second level is the different vertical strategies. And here we have, for example, when it comes to the industrial sector, we have certain targets, and there are certain initiatives that are helping us meet these targets. Also, the planning process is very organized in a way to allow us to plan. So, for example, we have today a platform that captures all the business opportunities in the sector. Through this platform, we can calculate what is the different labor force and the human capital requirement, so we can plan the human capital requirement of this project. As you know, any industrial investment will take 2 to 3 to 4 years to be in production, and that's give us great amount of time to plan the manpower requirement for the sector. On the probably the day-to-day and short-term initiatives, we have very micro initiatives with different stakeholders, like the human resource ministry. We have different initiatives in different sectors. We have also with the private sector, with the training institution, and so on. And finally, there has been a major shift also in the overall policy setting. It was, I think, about 2 months ago, there was a resolution by the Cabinet of Ministers, which is leading to transferring the responsibility of the human capital policy setting to the different verticals. So today, as a Ministry of Industry and Mining, this will be part of our agenda and no longer part of the Human Capital Ministry. And this is a pilot year, 2022, where several sectors have been chosen, and one of these sectors is the industrial sector. This will give us more ability to really laser focus and design specific solutions for our challenges when it comes to labor, to human capital. But generally, Frank, I'm really very optimistic. Today in manufacturing especially, the advancement in the technology is making it much, much easier than before for reskilling, for learning, machine learning. These tools have never been there before. And we intend to invest in these tools to make sure that our labor force is reskilled in the right way much faster than ever before.
Let me move on to sustainability, Mr. Al-Khorayef, because this has emerged as a very big theme indeed, both in the economy and in energy, in particular since the Saudi Green Initiative last year. Tell me, how realistic are the targets that the Kingdom has set to achieve sustainability in industrial and energy processes?
I think the targets are very realistic, and I quote Prince Abdulaziz bin Salman, the Energy Minister, is that if technology also helps us in terms of speed, we may even be achieving these targets much earlier than we have set. I mean, the initiatives that we are taking today is huge. It is a very serious business for us. Although, I mean, this is not part of our agenda, but our agenda in the sector is driven by the different targets that we have set. So today, we are not allowed to bring an initiative that will not satisfy our future in targets. So when it comes to the energy use and energy movement, when in our industrial cities, in the different projects that we are now approving, in the incentives that we are giving to investors, we are serious about making sure that these projects, the different initiatives are all aligned with the targets that we have set as a country.
Finally, Minister, let me ask about the competition, because other countries in the region also want to be business and economic and industrial hubs, don't they? But if your strategy proves to be the winning formula, does that mean that other regional markets will lose?
Definitely not. It is the contrary. Really, today, winners always, make more winners. So our view is very simple. Today, we have a great opportunity to work with the region to have a greater impact as a whole. So 1 + 1 is not 2. In the region, 1 + 1 could be 3 and 4 and 5. And this is really the way we look at it. And I will just give you an example of three things which are very evident, which is natural resources, geographical location, and human capital. If we think about it, the more we collaborate as a region, we can definitely maximize the use of our natural resources, where we can probably see a product being mined somewhere and being processed somewhere and manufactured somewhere, and then with our geographical also capabilities, we can see that our logistical solutions and network will be definitely by far more competitive. And in our human capital, the more demand for human capital requirement, the more we see engagement in training, in education, the more we will see output of human capital as an enabler for economic growth. So if you take it all together, you will see that the region, when collaborating with each other, will definitely have a great impact as a whole, rather than one winner. One winner is not an option, in my opinion, because it will definitely mean that this winner is not maximizing their full potential. And you will only be able to maximize your full potential if we cooperate and work together. Today, for example, with the GCC countries, we have different initiatives of how to complement each other in different supply chain, and also in the human capital. If you add all of this, this definitely will lead to a higher level of also income, which means more consumption, which also means that the region will be benefiting as a whole.
Mr. Khorayef, thank you very much for an illuminating conversation today. I'm very grateful to you for appearing on Frankly Speaking. Thank you.
Thank you very much.